Impact factor is generally a rough measure of how often the articles in that journal get cited. But generally for med students, programs care way less about where you published and more that you did publish. For reference, here's a list of the journals I published ophtho articles in and their impact factors. I do remember there was one specific interview where someone mentioned that AJO was impressive, but other than that, specific journals were never brought up during interviews. Although, of course, publishing in a higher tier journal is more impressive, try to aim for a journal that is appropriate for the work that you're submitting. Usually, your research mentor would be able to help you assess the strength of your work and which journal would be most likely to accept it. Next, the time needed for each type of research can vary so much depending on how much time you have, who your mentor is, and what your topic of research is. However, based on my experience, here are the types of research you might run into. Case reports and case series are the most straightforward. You take interesting patient cases, write them up, and submit them. The fastest one I wrote took only a couple days between drafting and submission. The longest one, however, took many months because I needed outside records to be faxed over, and that ended up being a super long, drawn-out process. In retrospective studies, you're looking back on existing patient data. These take more time since it'll likely involve you actually going back into the charts and collecting data to analyze, but they're still very doable for med students. Depending on the topic, I would give this maybe a couple months. Reviews are usually writing and lit review heavy. These don't involve patient data, so these can move pretty fast, but it can take a while if it's a longer piece. I would estimate about weeks to months for reviews. Editorials are also writing heavy, but aren't as lit review heavy like reviews are. These are more opinion-based articles, and so for me, I got my opportunity through an idea my mentor had and got it submitted within the week. Basic science and prospective studies are often the most time-intensive and involved, so I would give it at least a whole year. These projects aren't as readily available to med students as the previous ones are, but these are considered the most real research. I didn't have any prospective studies published by the time I applied, but these are great to bring up during interviews, especially if you're considering a future in research. Also, I want to mention that you can also have publications without them being journal articles. For example, you can write an iWiki article and list it as a peer-reviewed online article on your application. In my application, I also listed my Young MD Connect bookmarked articles as well as my RWO article. These articles can be super quick to write up if you're looking to supplement your publications. Lastly, keep in mind that even after you submit an article, it still takes many months after that for it to be published. Focus on projects you can realistically complete before residency applications to show programs that you can initiate projects and also follow through with them until the very end.